Pricing services correctly can make or break a cleaning business, especially if you're just starting out. I'll break down exactly how to price residential and commercial cleaning jobs in simple terms. What will you learn in this video? How to price cleaning jobs using hourly rates versus square footage rates. How to calculate cleaner pay, account for overhead costs, and still earn profit from each job. How to use AI to generate pricing estimates and job breakdowns with real-world examples. A live demonstration, screen share of AI in action, pricing actual cleaning scenarios. An introduction to a free Google Sheet pricing calculator you can download from my website to make quoting a breeze. Sounds good? Let's dive in and learn how to price your cleaning services for maximum profit and customer satisfaction. And by the end of this video, you will have the confidence to price any cleaning job and tools to help you do it. All right, first up, let's talk about the two most common ways to price cleaning jobs: by the hour and by the square foot. Hourly versus square foot method pricing. When it comes to the pricing cleaning jobs, you have two popular methods: charging by the hour or charging by the square footage. Let's quickly break down what each one means and when you might use them. Number one, hourly pricing. That is charging by the hour. So how does it work? You set an hourly rate for your cleaning service, then you estimate how many hours per job it'll take, and then you multiply it by that rate. So here's an example. Let's say your hourly rate is $30 an hour and the cleaning takes 3 hours. So 30 by 3 equals $90. When and how to use it. Hourly pricing is straightforward and great for smaller homes when you're unsure how long a job might take. Many house cleaners charge around $45, $55 per hour on average in the US. But a beginner, you might start a bit lower or match local rates. So here are the pros. Easy to calculate and explain to clients. For example, you can say, I charge $45 per hour. If the job is more work, takes longer, then of course you earn more. The cons though, some clients worry about hourly pricing because if you're slower, it costs them more. It's like giving an open checkbook, and consumers usually don't like that. You need to estimate time accurately. If you guess too low on hours, you might end up working extra for free. Now, number two, square footage pricing. Charging by area and how it works. You can charge a set rate for each square foot space you clean. Multiply that rate by the total square footage of the home or the building. And here's an example. Let's say you charge 10 cents a square footage. For a $2,000 square feet house, you would quote 2,000 multiplied to 10 cents, and that's $200. When and how to use it. Square footage pricing is common for larger homes or commercial properties. It is great for giving quick quotes on a big spaces. For instance, many commercial cleaning jobs charge roughly 7 to 15 cents per square foot method, depending on the building and frequency, of course, and the intensity of the cleaning. We're mostly talking about general cleaning now. For homes on a weekly or bi-weekly plan, a typical rate might be around 5-15 cents per square feet. Pros for this: easy for cleaners to understand and a flat price based on size. It can be more consistent. You charge more automatically for a bigger or dirtier space. Useful for bidding on offices or large buildings where measuring the area gives a clear scope. But it also has cons. You still have to adjust on how dirty or complex the job is. Two houses of the same size might take not the same time, as one could be messier and the other one is not, and we know that. Also, for very large spaces, you might use a lower rate per square footage because of efficiency or bulk pricing. The larger the place and the more frequent the service intervals, or the smaller the rate per square footage. The same goes with hourly too. It requires though knowing a reasonable rate, because when you're too low, you won't cover the cost. When you're too high, you won't win the job. So here's a quick tip for you. You can accurately use both methods together. For example, you might calculate a price per square foot, but double check it by thinking, how many hours will that take, to see if it makes sense, and cross checks and does checks and balances, kind of like reasonableness check. It is about finding a price that is fair to the customer and profitable to you. Next, let's make sure you cover all your costs in that price, because this is huge. And this is where I see a lot of cleaners drop the ball and bleed their companies. It's like trying to fill a bucket that has holes in it. and let's talk what can make the holes in your bucket. Now that we know how to charge by time or by size, let's figure out how to include your cost and profit in your price. Now, let's focus our attention on calculating cleaner pay, overhead, and a profit. It is super important to price your jobs so that all your costs are covered and you can still make profit and put money into your pocket. In this section, I will show you how to do that step by step. Every price you quote should account for three things: labor, pay for the cleaner, overhead expenses, and profit for you or your business. So let's break those down. First, labor cost, which is a cleaner pay. This is the wage you pay to the person doing the cleaning. If you are a solo cleaner, it's basically what you would want to earn yourself per hour for labor. Example, if you have one cleaner who earns $15 an hour and a job takes 4 hours, your labor cost is 4 multiplied by 15, which is $60, right? If you have a team of 2 working 4 hours each, total of 8 labor hours. Now at $15, that's 8 multiplied by 15, which is $120 labor cost. Next, overhead cost. Overhead is the extra cost of doing business beyond the cleaner's paycheck. This includes things like cleaning supplies, equipment that you might need, wear and tear of that equipment, gas for driving to the job, insurance, marketing, and even things like uniforms or the phone bill for your business. It can also include admin time, scheduling, billing, and any other expenses you have to run your business. You should factor a portion of this cost into each job. So think about it, this is your overhead cost, and you take a small portion and apply to each job so your overhead cost is covered. If you take the whole thing and try to put for one job, then you're going to lose the job because now your price is going to be too expensive to the customer. So here's an example. You might estimate an overhead as an extra, let's say $5 per hour per cleaner to cover supplies and miscellaneous costs. For the 4-hour job above that we talked about it, now it would be like 4 multiplied to 5, which is $20 overhead. And if it is a big job requiring special equipment, like a floor buffer or carpet shampoo, stuff that you need to rent, you would add a bit more for those supplies or equipment because your job is to cover that overhead expense. Some business owners calculate overhead as a flat percentage of labor, let's say 20% of the labor cost. Do whatever method makes sense for your business. The key is do not ignore the overhead cost. Include all those little costs so you're not paying out of your pocket because you don't want to be, as I said, pouring water into the bucket that has holes in it. Next, we're going to talk about a profit margin. Profit is the money you get to keep after paying all the expenses. This is your reward for business ownership. You can reinvest it into your company or take it as earnings. You should always aim to include profit in your price and do not mix up. Overhead is not the profit. If you only break even on jobs, cover labor and overhead with no profit, your business won't grow or sustain in the long run because you need money to pay your rent, take vacations, put the savings, reinvest, hire more people. A common approach is to decide on a profit margin. For example, the same 20% on the top of cost or a flat profit amount per job. So you decide as a business owner. Here's an example. If your total labor cost, let's say if your total cost, and then we're going to open a parenthesis, labor plus overhead for a job is $80 because somebody was working 4 hours, right? 20% of a job on cost means adding roughly $16 because 16 is 20% of 80. That would make your price about $96 now. You might round that up to a $100 for a nice round quote if you'd like, which gives you a $20 profit. Although the science tells in a psychology, do not round up the numbers, do like 97, 99. This is the reason. There's a reason why you go to stores and all the prices are $9.99, $9.97. So keep that. And then if you can put decibels like cents in it, then you're conveying to a customer that you actually have done the math and use some kind of formula, which now gives you a stronger leg to stand and lesser negotiation from a customer. Because if it's $100, they could ask, why not 50? But if it's 97 and 63 cents, then they're like, whoa, you probably use some kind of formula in it now. Makes sense. There's no hard rule though on the exact percentage or how to calculate. Go with whatever flow makes sense to you. Others more or less depend on a competition and what customers are willing to pay. Now let's put all this together in a simple pricing formula. Here are the basic steps you can follow for any jobs. Pricing a cleaning job step by step. Estimate the job size. Figure out how big is the job. This could be an estimate of hours needed or the square footage to clean, or both, right? For example, I think you could say this house will take for about 5 hours for one person to clean, or this office is 3,000 square feet. Then you're going to choose your rate. You're going to decide on your hourly rate or square feet rate. This might be influenced by local market rates. For instance, you might choose $30 or 10 cents per square feet based on what others charge and your own costs. And then you're going to calculate. On a separate video, we can talk about, and let me know if you want me to drill into how to figure out how others charge in your area. You want to know how much other people are charging. If you're a startup company, you don't want to be competing with the big established brand. But if you're a big established brand, you don't want to be way more expensive than the other big established brands, right? You need to be able to do the competitor analysis, find out how and what others are offering, what they're charging, and what's their value proposition to their customer. If you want me to put a separate video about it, let me know that you want that. But for now, let's keep diving in. Calculating your labor cost. If you're using hours, multiply hours, the hourly wage you pay to your cleaner, which is a labor cost, not your billable, not what you're billing the customer. So, or if you're using a square footage, you might instead calculate how many hours that size job would take and do the same. Example, 5 hours multiplied by 18-hour pay. Let's say you're paying your cleaner 18. That is $90 labor cost. So that is $90 labor cost. And now you're going to add your overhead. Estimate the extra cost for this job. You can do this per hour. For example, you want to do 5 per hour as we calculated, then it would be like your hourly rate, let's say multiplied to 5, and it's like $25, or a flat amount, $15 for supplies and $10 for gas, and that comes up to 25 as well. So for example, let's say I was paying a cleaner $20 an hour and I want to add $5 overhead, so that's 25, right? And or I can say 15 for supplies and 10 for gas, that's 25. So however way you come up, which is the easier for you and you can digest, use that. And then now add this to your labor cost. In our example, you had $90 labor plus 25 overhead plus $115 total cost. Right now that comes. So what's happening is 90 plus 25 gives you 115 in labor cost. Now you want to add your profit and you want to decide how much profit you want and you could afford and what percentage of the profit market charges. So you don't want to be too expensive. Let's say you want to go with 20%, and 20% of 115, which is about 23 cents. And the way you want to calculate, the easiest way is like 115 multiplied to 0.20 gives you 23, right? Or if you don't want to do that, you can do 115 multiplied to 1.20, that gives you 138. So in this example, 115 is plus 23 of your profit, which gives you $138, which if you want to round up, you can round up to 140 total. But if you round it up, your profit would be now actually not 23, but 25, right? But if you do like 139, then it's like $24. This final number is your price to the customer per that service. This is super important. Now let's double check it, make sure that you are reasonable to the customer and given the market conditions. Is 140 a fair price to do a 5-hour clean of a house in your area? Does it also meet your income needs? You might adjust if needed. With experience, you'll get faster and might adjust your hourly rate over time. And as you booked, and if you're a solopreneur cleaner, you could go up, right? Because the goal is to make more. But if you have more people, then your hourly rate will go up too. So your pricing structure will be constantly changing depending upon how big and fat you get or how small and skinny you stay. With experience, you'll get faster for sure and will be adjusting it. Always though, ensure you are not underselling yourself. You deserve to be paid for the quality service you provide. Some people go like keep dropping the numbers. So make sure that you make sense because like if you keep dropping the numbers below zero, there's nothing else. Then you have to actually pay from your pocket, right? To pay someone. So keep that in mind. Make sure you always stand by your value and you know your worth as well. And here's a pro tip. When starting out, it's wise to research what other cleaners in your area charge. As I said, if possible, find the average rate. For example, if local cleaners charge about $120 for the same job, you would want to be in the same ballpark as long as it covers your costs, right? You now have a solid base price by calculation and a check against real world rates. In fact, according to industry data, standard house cleaning can range from $100 to $200 per home depending on a size frequency. That's more like a recurring, not initial deep cleans because they're more. So in our example, example, 140 falls right into between the $100 and $200 in line, which is great. So we've done the math ourselves. Now let's see how AI tool like GPT or Gemini can help make this even easier. We are going to jump into a live ChatGPT demo to get pricing estimates with real examples. One of the coolest tools available to us today, which wasn't available when I started a cleaning business, is artificial intelligence. And there's a bunch of Grok, GPT, Gemini, Llama. Those are the most important US brands. There's a DeepSeek and others that are Chinese brands. So let's just focus on US brands for now. You can actually use them to help estimate cleaning job prices and provide breakdown of labor cost and profit. And for some reason, I haven't seen any other gurus sharing this information because they seem to like to or want to be selling this information. But this is really cool tool. This can save you time and give you confidence that you are not forgetting anything in your quote. In this section, I'll share my screen and demonstrate how to use GPT for pricing a cleaning jobs. We will run through two real-world examples, one residential and one commercial. Here's an example, and then everything depends on a prompt, right? So remember, whenever you're giving a prompt to an artificial intelligence, give it an intro, why you're doing it, ask what you want from this, and then the outcome, desired outcome, what you want to achieve from it. So kind of like give a background. I have a cleaning business, then I want to estimate this job, help me come up with the numbers. So then the outcome, desired outcome, so I can sell the job, customer can purchase the job, so I can be competitive in market. So keep those three basic rules whenever you're quoting or using any AI software. Let's say for this example, we have a client who wants a standard cleaning for 1,500 square feet house that usually takes around 4 hours to clean. So we pay our cleaners $18 an hour, and we estimate about $5 an hour in our overhead costs. That's supplies, etc. Right? We want to make roughly 25% profit on this particular job. How should we price it? And instead of doing all that math in our head every time, we can now ask GPT to help, or any artificial intelligence. Here is the prompt I'll give to GPT. I have a house cleaning business. I need help pricing a job. It is 1,500 square foot home, and I think it'll take about 4 hours to clean. I pay my cleaner $18 per hour. My overhead, supplies, gas, etc. is about $5 per hour. I'd like to make a 25% profit on this job. What price should I charge the client, and can you break down the calculation for me? Okay, here we've got our prompt. So we're gonna hit do this. While it's calculating, I want to copy the prompt and go to Gemini as well. I don't want to try with Grok and others right now, but just two of them. Know that AI makes mistakes. You have to double check it. So we're going to double check it together as well. So here's the pricing calculation. So it says 18 by 4 is 72, right? So what we're going to do is open our calculator. So 18 by 4 is 72. And now 5 by 4 is 20. So we know that when you add 20, that becomes 92. Now it's saying it's $92. And then it wants to add 25% margin. So 25 margin, it's giving me a price of 122.67. So let's verify. The easiest way to calculate the profit when you have a total is basically multiply 92. Just keep that number in your head to 0.25. That's the profit, 23, right? Plus I can add 92 and it gives me 115, not 122. It's rounding it up, but I'm at 115. You can see it's making a mistake here. The other option, the easier way, is to do this like basically 92, remember 72 plus 20, and multiply it to 1.25. That's $115. And you can multiply it to 20%, 30%, whatever, right? So it comes from this. Now let's come to this. Let's see what Gemini gave us. Gemini gave us 18 by 4 is 72, correct. 5 by 4 is 20, so this gives us 92. And then 25%, $23 and 115. See, in this case, the GPT hallucinated, gave us different number versus Gemini. So make your own judgment and probably go with Gemini in this case. Let's see another case scenario as well. And okay, here's the prompt. I want to copy it because I want to drop it into Gemini, see what happens there, and then see what happens here. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the double checking. So I might need a pen and paper here. Our hours needed, 3 wages are 20. So total labor cost is 120, right? So labor 120. Then next is 6 by 8 is 48 overhead. And then labor plus overhead, 120 plus 48 is 168. 168 plus overhead. So remember that number. And then we want to add a 30% profit margin on final price, not just the markup. So what it's saying is, what I like to do is come up with the per price service, then add the profit to it, and then come up with the monthly cost. So what I'm going to do in here is, so I've got 168, right? Let me show it so you guys can see it. So in this case, we've got labor that was 120. Overhead was 48, so that's 168. So what I'd like to do is make 30% profit. So multiply 1.3. That gives me $218.40 per service. Now we have a service cost per service. We need to know a cost per week. If it's 3 times, 5 times, then you come up with it accordingly. So in this case, we want 2, right? So I'm going to multiply it to 2. So here, multiply to 2. This gives me $436.80 per service. Sorry, per week. So per week, I've got 436. Now, I'm not going to multiply to 8 because there are not 48, but 52 weeks in a year. So it's going to be slightly different, 8 point something, but less than 9, right? And we need to come up with this. And to do that, what I'd like to do is come up with yearly cost and divide it to 12 to come up with monthly cost. So when I have 436 and 8, I'm going to multiply it to number of weeks in a year, in a given year. So it comes up with a yearly, right? The yearly is 22,713 and 60 cents. This is per year. Now I want to feed the monthly price to a customer, so I'm going to divide it to 12. And now it gives me 1,892 and 8 cents. So that's the price to the customer. And let's see if we have the same price. Nope, we've got 2,078 and 40. I mean, it calculated 8.6, but 2,048. So it gave you overhead profit estimated per service, I think. Labor, yes, per service it gave you that. But let's see what's happening here, if this is more accurate. In here, we've got 1,500, 400, 1,000, total monthly 1,497. And then what is this? Calculation. Your total monthly charge is 1,497.60. Okay, let's run it again to make sure we are doing it properly and not this is, meaning let's find out who's glitching. Maybe it's me glitching right now because it's a long day, or one of the AI tools is glitching. So what we have is labor is 6 hours. We know that, right? So we know that the labor right here takes 6 hours. So let's do that. That's great. You guys get to see this exercise, how I'm doing it as well. So 6 to 20 is 120. So that's no brainer. Then we're going to do 8. That's the overhead for commercial, to 6. That's 48, right? 120 plus 48. That's my cost. That's my $168 cost per service. But it's twice a week, right? Is that the prompt I put there? 3 hours, 6, the cleaning needs to twice a week, right? So we now need to come up with a weekly. So that's 168 multiplied to 2 because we go there twice a week. No, I didn't put the. So that's 48, right? 168. And then what I need to do is overhead 168. And now I need to put the 30% profit. So the easiest way to put it, 168 multiplied to 1.3. Or you could do the other way is like 0.3. That's $50 per, right? And then you can do 1.68. So regardless, it gives you the same number, which is 218.40 cents per service. So I've got this jogged down right here, just taking notes. So that is per service, but now we want it twice, right? So when you want it twice, you're going to multiply this to 2. This gives you $436.80 per week. And now we need to come up with the monthly cost. So now we're going to do a week to number of years, this to 52. That gives me $22,713 and 60. And now I'm dividing it to 12. And now it's 1,892 and 80. Voila. At least my numbers making sense to me. If there's a math wizard out there, let me know where is this thing is doing wrong and or whatnot. Anyhow, so now that this is out the way, we got the sense. Oh, let's do one more discovery, which is really cool. So for example, how much per hour residential cleaners charge on average in Baltimore metro area? That's where I am, right? So I'm gonna do this. When you do the deep research, if you have that paid function, it'll do way better intensive search. But here, let's see what it does. And here's this one's coming up. Okay. Oh, it did some research. Look, here.com, $20.66. Indeed is $22. ZipRecruiter is this much. Misty Clean is $73 per hour. And 25 Essential Apartment, $25 to $50 per cleaner. Okay, you've got that. So this should be good. So you can use this for research as well. And here this is giving you as well 14 to 20 per hour, and got some sources for you cited. So you can do the research with it as well. So it works. Okay. Now, what is left? You saw it yourself, right? So you can't really rely on the software too much, but you can leverage it and be faster. So it's like salespeople are concerned that, for example, the GPT and AI and other artificial software will start doing their job. Should they be concerned? Yes, but not the ones that are good, because the way I believe is this is a tool. This is another tool. If you learn how to use this tool, you will be better. So I think salespeople who don't use GPT or artificial intelligence will be out of the game, but those who use this will kick some ass, royal ass. So same here. It makes mistakes. Just be aware of that, but use this as a tool, another tool in your toolbox, so you can do greater damage faster, right? Be more productive. And here are some key takeaways. Always cover your costs, labor and overhead, and include profit in your prices. Your business deserves to thrive. Whether you charge by hourly or by square foot, make sure the number makes sense for the work you are doing. And when in doubt, ask artificial intelligence or somebody who actually knows that, right? Pricing might seem tricky at first, but with the methods and tools, you will get the hang of this, and it's just gonna become a natural thing for you. And remember, I've got the free calculator for you if you'd like to download. Go to ansimpact.com and go to resources, and you will see the calculator there. In exchange, I'll ask for your email. Usually I send out once a month emails, but I've been super busy lately with that. So, but the calculator is free. Go download. You don't have to do all this math. It will figure out. Just go there. It's a Google Sheet, make a copy of it, and then use for your cases. It calculates the residential and commercial. It'll even help you calculate the overhead expenses as well. Very basic, rudimentary, but it's better than nothing, and it's free. You don't have to pay for anything. So if you did like this video, a thumbs up would be great. If you did not subscribe yet, please subscribe and share this video with fellow cleaning business owners or anyone you know who just getting started in the industry. It might save them a ton of headache on their pricing. And I personally would love to hear from you. Comments below if you have any questions or if there are any other topics you would like me to cover in the future videos. I'm here to help for you to succeed. Bye for now, and I'll see you inside of this video. Bye.